flosstube. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle. I go by the Chinook Crafter here and on Instagram. This is my cat Orfeo, who you might actually get to see his face. He's getting some good pet. Oh, there we go. And this is my flosstube channel. This is a channel where I primarily talk about cross stitch, although I do have some other hobbies and I talk about those, but mainly cross stitch and cross stitch adjacent hobbies, fiber related hobbies. And I am a chaos. I am chaos. Mostly, oops, sorry, first, my camera's slipping. So we have many special guests today. I have my cat who decided to join in, and my baby is right here because we're in a phase where if we are not touching Mama, it is the end of the world, and everyone needs to know about it. Do you want to sit? Yeah, that's your baby. Yes. Yeah, so, oh goodness, okay. This is not working the way I want. Let's see. Sorry, I had my phone kind of trying to prop it so I wasn't quite as angled, but we're just gonna roll with it because I'd rather have a slightly askew angle. Maybe I can just slightly askewed angle rather than not filming at all. It has been 4 weeks since I last filmed, and a lot has happened. I'm gonna maybe just do a quick little life update on why, and then move into the goods. So, I mean, I try and film every 2-3 weeks. That's kind of like, I don't have a set schedule because if I had a set schedule, I would miss it and be upset at it. So I just try and film every 2-3 weeks when I have an accumulation of stuff that it feels like, hey, I actually have stuff to show and talk about. So then that normally would have been the last week or so, but my sister was visiting from Victoria with her partner. So, you know, had a bunch of family stuff going on, and then they left, and they left, and then immediately after they left, I had another friend, also from Victoria, come into town for a wedding, and it was also Stampede, which is like this big rodeo, western, yeehaw, yahoo event, as it were. So, I didn't go to Stampede. I do not like heat. I do not like crowds. Taking a baby and a toddler into that situation just sounds like a terrible, terrible time. But we did go to a couple of the free pancake breakfasts because there's horses, there's free food, there's face painting, there's stuff. My daughter has cowboy boots, and it's the cutest little thing to pop her up on, like, things for photos. So, yeah. Okay, it's the elbow. So, yeah, so it was just really busy because, you know, I'd be out in the morning doing that, and it's hot, and you're waiting in lines. Like, you're waiting in these, like, 45-minute lines for, like, 2 mediocre pancakes and fake maple syrup. I do better pancakes at home, but it's not the point. And I know that sooner or later I'm going to actually have to take them down to the Stampede grounds and midways, and oh. Yeah, not looking forward to that stage of life. But yeah, it's a big fun party if you're into country music and things like that. I'm not, so, but it still ate up my time. And so then eventually that passed, you know. I was like, okay, good, I gotta film. Both my kids are going through things. I think this one right down here, wave your feet, hello. I think she's teething or something, like, she's learning how to crawl and sit up at the same time, so she gets really frustrated if one of those things isn't happening. But then she also gets really frustrated if she's not being held, specifically by me, so it's been very exhausting, because as soon as you put her down, it's that crying, and, you know, oh, man. It's a stage, it's an age, it's a stage, but man, I am touched out, screamed out by the end of the day, and, you know, God, it's rough. I'm going to be going back to my parents for some help soon, because my partner's going to be on his afternoon shifts, and that is the absolute worst. So yeah, so she's going through that, and then my toddler, as of a couple of weeks ago, has been sleeping through the night. Like, you know, we put her to bed, and then she sleeps through till morning. Well, now she's waking up at some point in the middle of the night and losing her mind too, and because my partner is having to get up at, like, 6 a.m. for work and things like that, I'm the stay-at-home parent, right? So I'm responding to that in the middle of the night, because unless and so yeah, so he just flopped and fell up. Okay, good recovery, buddy. So yes, I'm responding to that too in the middle of the night, so I'm just exhausted, and my stitching has not been there, but I've been buying things, but I have not been stitching things, so that is that. I'm also really behind on watching my flosstube videos. I think I'm like a week behind, so I've been catching up. So if you have a video from 2 weeks ago and y'all got a comment for me, that's me catching up. Yeah, we're catching up. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I was hoping that she'd be asleep during this. My partner took our toddler out for Yum Cha with his family, and I was like, I'm not really feeling like a Yum Cha today. And, again, sitting in heat and crowds. And so I was like, I'll stay home with the baby. And I was hoping that she would be asleep during this and I could just do my thing. But, this is working. This is working so far. Okay. So yeah, so that is what's going on with me and my life and why it's been a little bit. I mean, I've still been on Instagram because, like, that's something I can do one-handed, So, that's what's been going on. Oh, okay. My hand's a very interesting toy. I think, like I said, I'm really sure we're teething because, like, she's gnawing on my arms constantly. So I'm just going to show what I've worked on. Yeah, and I mean, most of this you've probably already seen on Instagram. So this is my Stitch for Sage piece. It is the medieval floral sword, I think is what, or medieval gothic sword. So it's not showing you. If I kind of angle it into the light there, you can see that the border is done, mostly done. And then I've started, these flowers I just kind of popped in there so I can have my placement for the border. And I've got most of the sword hilt itself done. So like once this is done, there's some more flowers and just like bring the hilt down, and I want to do some other fancy stuff with it. Here, I'm going to show this. It definitely shows up better on my Instagram. This is kind of on timeout. So the border here is done in 3799, and I apparently have 2 different dye lots of 3799. I have 4 skeins of the 3799. 2 are like this like lighter brown gray almost, and the other ones are like a gray, right? And I didn't realize, so I used some, because I just kind of grabbed, because I'm using 3799 in a couple different projects, so I wasn't like, I was like, oh, there it is, like, and, pulling out some floss and working on it when I could. So I did this bit down here in the one shade, and then the whole rest of the border in the other dye lot. And I only noticed it when I came back in, because it's like a double, like here, if you can see, it's like 2 lines for the border. So it's only once they were right next to each other. At first I thought it was lighting, and I was like, oh no, it's a different shade. So I'm kind of on the fence about what to do, because like it is like from here to about here, like, so it'll be like 25% of the border. Like if the whole outside was done in the wrong color, I'd be like, okay, I can work with that, the whole, but it's because it just kind of cuts off awkwardly in the transition phase. I'm kind of like on the fence about it. When I posted about it on Instagram, people were like, it's fine, leave it, I'm like, And I was like, yeah, I kind of want to, because I don't want to unpick the stitches, but like it's bugging me because it's not like a subtle dye lot. Like when I'm trying to hold it up here and be like, okay, like, do I notice when it's like this far away? Do I? I'm like, I kind of do. So I've been working on other parts of it rather than deal with the border. I'm probably going to unpick it. It's not like terrible. I don't know if you can hear that. My other cat is using the litter box. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I just want he's quiet, so I start talking, and then so I'm probably gonna unpick the border. I know everyone was saying just leave it, it's fine, but it's bugging me. It's my project, and I'll unpick it if I want to. And speaking of unpicking and things like that, I'm just going to show this one. So I've mentioned before that I have a ton of Mama Witch patterns. So I started my own Mama Witch Mondays to try and work through the backlog of all her fantastic patterns I have. And so here is my Star Bunny. I was working on the border, because yesterday was Monday, so I was working on this like little green border, because I thought, oh, this will be easy. I don't have to do color changes. I can put it up, put down when I have the kids. Because my partner was working 16 hours yesterday, so it was a very long, rough day for me. And mostly, we're fine till after dinner time, and then it's just like, is it bedtime yet? Is it bedtime yet? Can you just please be bedtime yet? Yeah, go to sleep. Actually, she's a good sleeper. It's her sister that's the issue. So, and it was all going good, and then right here, it doesn't quite match off. I'm like 2 stitches in too deep. And so, I went looking, and my mistake is up right here. And so I've got a couple options, and of course the one option is obviously to unfrog this whole bit. And I'm not going to lie, I considered it, but that's kind of very frustrating. I think what I want to do is fix up the little bit here that's off, just because I'll make it look more smooth, I think, more circular, and then just kind of fudge this, because I don't think it'll make that big of a difference. And like, you know, and like I'm kind of still have to, like, I'm gonna look at it next Monday. I'm gonna put it away, look at it next Monday, and just be like, okay, do I want to rip out all of this, like, you know, or do I just want to fix this like a little nubbin up here so it's like a little bit more smooth, and then just adjust this, because it matches up where it's supposed to match up, like this. It's just like this, like the line is shifted 2 stitches in. Oh, okay, puppy. Yeah, so that's kind of what that, like, so like, I think it's always interesting to kind of talk about like what you made mistakes in and how you fixed it, or not going to fix it, or if you're just going to frog it. Because I think that's helpful sometimes too, because like, it's one thing to say, oh, I'm just going to fudge it, you know, but it's like, how are you fixing and adjusting for your mistake? Like, how are you going to make that so it's more, you know, because like, obviously, you know, knowing that cross stitches can count. I think we've accepted that we can't count to 10. We can barely count. And it's like, how do you adapt and improvise and fix things? So sometimes it's easy. Sometimes you know, you have to do like a whole new thing. Like, this is in the border, and like there's just like a bunch of leaves. So I think I can just, you know, cut out some stitches. Like I said, it's still circular and matches up. So it's not like, you know, it's not like my one line's here, my one line's here. It's like they do meet. It's just they meet a little. There's supposed to be like a little couple more stitches to join them up. So I think I can fudge that one fairly easily. And like I said, I just like to kind of talk about, you know, sometimes how you can fix things without having to rip out and unpick everything. Because like I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups for different like stitch alongs and groups, and I was like, oh my god, I'm 1 stitch off, and like I'm gonna start ripping, and it's like, I think sometimes you can, like, I totally understand, like, you know, if you use the wrong color, like, you know, being a perfectionist. But I think sometimes it's helpful to be like, hey, here's how you can fix it, you know, like, here's how you can adapt and adjust what you've done. And so speaking of ripping out and being frustrated, this is my Amethyst Floral piece by Junebug and Darling. This is my first cross stitch ever, so it's also my oldest whip. And the reason why is I've got these French knots that I've got to do. So all of these back stitching have like a protrusion of French knots. So here, 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 and in there. And I can't do French knots. These have mostly been done by my mom. And I might still have to, well, I think that, yeah, I'm not going to pick them up. I just want to get it done. And I know my last one, I was mentioning like, oh, you could use, you know, you use beads. And I think I would if it wasn't a different color. But you can see it's kind of like this mustardy yellow, and I just don't think that would look as nice in beads. Okay, stop kicking me in the stomach. Wow. Whew. Yes. So I just don't think that'll be as nice, and it's kind of got like this like retro feel to me, so I kind of want to get the French knots done. And at this point, like, I've had this since 2019, like, do the damn French knots, acknowledge that you can do French knots, and then just be done with this project. This will, you know? So that's where I'm at with my French knot fiasco? I don't know. It needs my own thing. I'll get there. I will figure it out. I will learn how to do French knots, and I will be better off for it. Yes. Okay, so then I'm in a bunch of stitch-alongs. So the ones I'm actively attempting to keep up with will be what I show. So this one here is the Cabinet of Curiosities by Stitch Crip. There's a bunch of black stitching on a dark fabric, so I mean, you can really see that maybe. Yeah, angling for the light. I've mostly got a rough outline of the 3 tenons, so this is the first drop. I think we're on the 5th, well, my start of the first drop. Let me angle this better. Yeah. I have a helper here holding, yes. So that was my start on the first drop, because I've got like enough of the 3 tenon to kind of roughly place where things are. And I think that's going to be my goal, is to just kind of get some of the drops filled in and then go back and work on the frame. That is a very hefty frame. I want to say it's like almost 11,000 stitches for the frame, and like I think about 4,000 is like 310, and then there's a whole bunch of like, you know, like dark browns to like fill in like the wood feel of it. And yeah, I'm loving each single release, and so I'm kind of like, I want to catch up, because like there's jars, there's vials, there's a cat skull, there's an amethyst geode, like there's some plants, and oh goodness. Yeah, so I kind of want to get caught up on that one too, because there's just so many cool, funky things, and the last drop had like jars with like blank labels, so we can kind of like create our own sort of spot in there. So I want to get caught up on that because I have enough space to do it, and like the drops themselves are reasonable sized. It's just the frame itself was massive. So, oh my goodness, yeah. And also stitching over 2 on a darker fabric is a struggle for me. I don't think I'll be doing much more. Oh, I'm lying. I have so many more dark fabrics. I think I'll just stick to Ada because I don't have to count as much for over 2s. Yeah, we are the opposite of nap time, but this is my only time to film, so you know. Yeah, kids, they're really fun, and like I said, this is a, you know, they're going to be in preschool, and then I'll have time to, you know, in like 2 years, and then I'll have time to stitch again. But for now, I just get what I get done. Like, you know, it's a little frustrating to be so behind, but like, you know, on a good day, I get 400 stitches done. Most days, I get like around 200, and that's not a lot when you think of how big the pieces are. Like, you know, like, oh, the frame's 10,000. Okay, so 10,000 divided by 2. Like, well, okay, wow, you know. But you just do what I can and have fun with it, and then occasionally I get a good day where I get like 500 stitches done or something, and then I feel proud. Yeah. And it is what it is. Like, I'm a slow stitcher. I don't have a lot of free time, so I get done what I get done and have fun with the rest of it. This is my other stitch along. This one has some loose strings. It is the Natural World stitch along by Pixel Pixie Cross Stitch. So I am working on the April drop here. I am a good chunk of the April drop done. Like let me just fold this up a little bit better. So like I have a bird tracking I have to do, finish off the garden snail, and then there's some stuff down here. This one I can probably finish off in 2 days of dedicated stitching time. My original goal was to have April and May done for July, then do June and July, and then just, you know, be caught up for the rest of the year. I'm still hoping to do like 2 months, a month till I get caught up and then stay on top of it, because those drops are somewhat reasonable size. They're about 1,000 to 1,300 stitches, so that's not too terrible bad. It's just these, I mean, we tease her on social media for this, but these borders, they chonky, they hefty, they a lot of work. Once you get the border done, everything else is smooth sailing, but getting those borders done is a challenge. Again, because I can't count in them. I can't count. I mean, I'm doing much better with it now that I have Pattern Keeper going. Like, that has really helped, but it's still a process. It's still a learning curve. And my last stitch along is the Greenhouse of Oddities. So I just finished the 3rd planting. I think we're on the 6th or 7th. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm 4 plantings behind. And again, this is, and I'm not 100% done the greenhouse. Like, I mostly have to do the white and the grayish shadows and like finish up some dirt. I want to do something different with the crows, so I haven't done them yet, but like that doesn't impact my placing. I've mostly been focusing on what I need to place the plantings. These ones, somewhat, they go fast and they go slow. It kind of depends on the day. I'm really enjoying like this. I just love learning about it. I really had fun with this. It took me a little bit. I didn't rechart, but I redid all the colors on Miss Maria Sabella Marion here, Our Lady Scientist botanical illustrator. I did the whole shell pink conversion, and then I used the browns for her hair rather than black, and I changed her skin tone because it would have looked a little bit odd to still have the grayish skin tones. Like, and like, it's not like I liked how the original one looked, you know, because obviously she's working with a limited color palette, because like for a stitch along you don't have like, it's already a very hefty DMC list, so you don't want to add more. So I totally get that, but I want her to pop out a little bit more, and I wanted to try a low-risk color conversion, if that makes sense. So that's what I did, and I'm really happy. The only thing I'm not happy about is DMC does not have a very good skin tone range line, especially for a small space. Like, if I had like more, I could probably try doing like blends or things like that, but I was just not very impressed with the skin tone selection. So, I mean, it works, it's fine. It's only like 20 or so stitches, but man, that is a missed opportunity from DMC for like skin tones. And like, I had a whole lot of fun. Okay, well, I have to say it's so fun. I think I pulled out like 200 different like flosses to try and figure out this color range. So at first, I started thinking about this before the tree over here was planted. So at first I was thinking, ooh, like let's do like a nice brown orange, like natural color. And then the tree here is like all yellow. It's like, no, that's not contrasted enough. And then I was doing like research. Like I went down a rabbit hole about like what gentlewomen were wearing the 1750s. Like it's classic. You know, and brocade was in. So but I didn't want to do a pattern like tweed sort of style coloring. So, and they weren't quite as into the bright acids as the Victorians, because we're not quite there yet. So I didn't want to do green, because there's a lot of green. I didn't want to do anything that was too close to this, so oranges. I didn't want to do blues because of the butterflies. I thought about bringing in, like this is the dark purple and doing purples, but purple's a morning color, and I wasn't quite feeling that as well. Like, so that kind of left me pinks, I think, because I haven't gone through and rejected most of the colors. So then I had to go find like a pink range that I had everything, and then I was happy with. So I did with like the shell pink range, and I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. It's kind of like a, I don't know, I'm really pleased. Like that's what, and having taken the jump to do my own color conversion, it was nice, and I feel more confident going forward and doing more. So that is everything I stitched on over the last couple of weeks. Like I mentioned, I was very busy with life, so I didn't do too much of that. I am still acquiring patterns like no tomorrow, because I'm in Stitch Sprout and Fine Frogs Patreon, so I've been getting all those patterns, so I need to stitch those. I have been buying patterns as the mood suits me, because, you know, I get stressed out and I buy something. Yeah. So yeah, those are that I don't really. I kind of thought about doing like a kit parade or like a pattern parade, but so many of my patterns, like because I have like multiple from magazines and things like that, and I don't know how fun it would be to be like, image, and like just the amount of editing that would require. That didn't really seem like a fun time to me. Like I like seeing other people's, and like because I see a pattern I want to do or I'm working on, I'm like, oh, I should pick that one up. So I like other people's. But when I thought about doing all that editing myself, and I was like, no, I don't want to do all that editing. And so that's why I don't usually show my digital pattern purchases, because I really don't like popping up the image here. Like, it's not like it's a hard editing thing to do. It's just it's like that one extra step when I've already spent, because like for me to film a floss tube, I have to get my toddler occupied out of the house quiet. I've got to try and keep this one in a somewhat quiet state. I've got to have everything organized, ready, pulled out, and, and then I have to film, and it usually takes me a couple tries, because I stumble over my words and get, like, flustered and restart. I've got cats interrupting me, so by the time I'm done, I just want it posted and over with, and so, like, the minimal editing I do is just already, it's, because at that point the toddler's home, and I'm trying to, like, okay, yeah, yes, and, yeah. So I really appreciate the people that do have the time to like pop up the images. Like it's so helpful. It's good. Like I try and do it on my Instagram because again, it's so much easier, but it's not, it doesn't work for me. However, I did also start, and I'll link it below, like a little Google Word doc of all my works in progresses. So if I mention something, I have, anything, like the colors I'm using, the fabric I'm using, any changes I've made, if possible I've linked to where you can buy it or who the designer is. So I think that is kind of like my compromise on all that. Yes, you're so proud of yourself. Yeah, so I mentioned I bought, I'm going to show off what I bought, because it kind of ties into future plans and things I am kind of have lined up to stitch on, because, I'm trying to get a good handle on a few projects first before I start new ones. Not that I have the most whips of anybody, but I'm very happy with the amount I have, so I don't want to add too many more to it without removing some of it. Yeah, so I guess I'll start with this, because it's kind of a ramble. I fell into a rabbit hole on color conversions. I was, that wasn't obviously there, because when I was looking at color conversions and like skin tones and things, I saw all the color conversions for lavender and laces and mirabilias. So here I'm just going to show this pattern that I've acquired. And I'd never really, like, there was a couple of memorabilias I was like, oh, those are cute, and I knew about the lavender and laces ones, but I was just like, kind of fussy, not my thing. And then I saw like some of these conversions, and they tweak colors of the dresses and things, and all of a sudden I was like, oh wow, amazing how if you just switch the dress colors, I am so into that. And actually what I saw was one of them had converted it to make, they completely drawn their own Aragon and then re-kitted one of these Celtic ladies into Arwen, and I was like, yes, I now want these patterns. So I was looking on one of the Facebook D-Stash groups, and just like, hey, who has got the Celtic ladies? And so somebody's like, I paid postage, but other than that, they just sent it to me. So I got Noelle. So I'll probably start this in Christmas time. I think this is a kind of a good one because I don't want to do too much. I think most I want to do is I've seen adding some more green and a deeper red, and like that makes it look a little bit more Christmassy for me. So I like that, and I know I can get the other 4 on like 1, 2, 3 stitch and things. Like they're not out of print or anything, but I'm hoping to find them in garage sales or used or something, just on a budget, because I'm going to need lots of fabric. I'm going to need beads and specialty threads and framing. So, if I can save $10, $15 on buying the pattern, that is $10, $15 more for the all the fancy stuff. And so I'm just kind of looking at this. I don't think this one requires too. I think these are maybe a nice start to fancy ladies, because there's a bunch of there's a couple blends, but there's not like specialty threads, and there's only like 4 types of beads. But I think, okay, never mind. I need over 1,000 beads, so never mind. I was gonna say like, hey, that's not too bad. And then doing like the skins over one thing. So this is gonna be a really massive project. I'm not in a huge rush to start it, but I am. Like I said, I fell into that rabbit hole of color conversions, and my goodness, there are some beautiful things being done, and just redoing the patterns and things. So I'm really into that. And so I'm gonna have to acquire these patterns. I know they go out of print and things, so that's kind of on a higher priority list for me. I just don't want to, I have like a monthly budget of cross stitching supplies, and I don't want to spend it all on patterns I'm not going to be stitching for a while. So I'm kind of spread that out. Speaking of that, the other half of my sulky order came in from the little needle workshop in Nanton. So I've just juggle. I posted a nicer photo of these on my Instagram. There we go. These I just like for different variegation, like so there's a couple of samplers I want to do with them, and so now that I own them, I'm going to have to purchase the sampler patterns, figure out my fabric, and get those going. One of the gold one I wanted for a Christmas gift for my mom, so I also have to get that going. Actually, my local needle workshop, one of them, Embroidery Marketplace, she had a 20% off hand-dyed fabric sale, so I placed an order with her. I just haven't picked it up yet because I also had a Threadworks order coming in with her, so I was kind of waiting for everything. Well, we're waiting for everything just to kind of come in all at once before I grab it, so that'll be a nice haul video, so I will probably have already started stitching on those fabrics by the time that I next film, because I have things I want to start and things I bought and I need to get going. So that was that. And then my last purchase, this isn't my complete set because I, again, don't have everything. I have been purchasing these Rit dyes because I want to dye some fabrics. My Michaels did not have the purples, so I need to go and get some purple fabrics. Not purple fabrics, purple dyes, so I can have purple fabrics. That is the words. I've got a huge list of things I want to dye for which project, so I'm just kind of now, the Rit dye website has a really handy, website. On the website, they have, a little formula thing, so you can be like, ooh, that shade of purple, and then I'm like, oh, it's 10 drops of, 10 milliliters of this, 5 milliliters of this, right? So I've been kind of using that, and then I'm going to try low immersion to make it modeled, and I have to go pick up some containers from my local Buy Nothing group for that, because I've been reading a lot about the different ways of dyeing, and I don't want to do it inside. I have a open floor main area, so my stovetop is right in the center of the house. I've got 2 cats, 2 kids. Like, it just does not seem like it's going to be the best. So, like, anything I have to time or watch, like low immersion, I can, like, you know, bundle it up into the container and, like, come back in an hour and I can set it up outside and, or, like, you know, in a sheltered space where it'll be safe from all the shenanigans of this household. So I'm really looking forward to experimenting with that. Like I said, I've got, like, I think 10 things I want to dye. Yeah, one of the things I really want to dye is Sewing Starfish just started, like, this magical inventory stitch along, and I was just going to stitch it on black because that was, like, the recommended fabric, but then I started seeing some people stitching it on, like, other colors, and I was looking, I was like, oh, like this color, no, because I still wanted things to stand out, like, based on the floss list, because I was thinking, like, dark purple, dark navy, garnet, dark green. So I'm going to try, like, a jewel tone tie-dye is kind of what I'm going for, to really lean into, like, the 90s feel, like, the 90s aesthetic of it all. So we will see how that goes. It might just be trash and I'll just dye it black and just do it black, but I'm going to try a jewel tone, subtle jewel tone tie-dye thing first. So that is that. Oh, and the last bit is I got some Stitchy Kindness from Michelle of Michelle Bendy Stitches. She had she frequently has giveaways or, like, stitch kit pass-alongs, etc. on her floss tubes. And she was doing one for D20 Stitches of Let's Make a Statement 3, and I was the very lucky recipient of that. I did the first one, and I've got the second one. But I hadn't purchased the third one, because again, like, I'm trying to do a thing where I finish one before I start buying another one. And he has, like, a million patterns I want to do, like, a million. Like, them and Uncanny Kari, like, their designs just knock it out of the park. I love it. I really cannot wait for their Stitch North and Spring Fling exclusives to be released to the public, because I will be snapping those up in a heartbeat. So anyway, so she bought the PDF for me, and I think we are going to start stitching it together on July 26th, because we like to stitch them in public places where we will be making a statement for those that ask. For me, my public will just be my parents' backyard, but their backyard neighbor is the local MLA for the area, and that person and I have very differing political views, and it will make me happy to spite Stitch where she can see me stitching. I don't think she will ask about what I'm doing or anything, but I would love to, maybe when I'm done these, have a little pennant display on my parents' fence and take some photos, just because I will know. And, like, I do a lot more beyond just, you know, spite stitching, but, you know, it's those small things that give you joy. And it also opens discourse with people that visit my parents and my parents themselves, which is also an important part of the whole deal, you know, is speaking up and speaking out. So those are my stitchy things and my plans. I feel like I have way more I want to start, and I feel like I should stop resisting and just start everything I want to start, but then they sit neglected, and I'm really trying to finish a few things first, so I'm frothing at the bit here. I'll get it done. So that is that, and so that's all the stitching stuff. If you like the stitching stuff, you are free to meander on off to somebody else's floss tube. I know a lot of people have uploaded in the last couple days. Like I said, I am a week behind on my floss tube watching because I am just such a busy person, and my toddler is very upset when she sees one of your guys' faces and not, you know, Miss Rachel or Blippi. We're trying to cut Blippi out. I can't do Blippi, but she gets very upset. So she gets very upset unless you have a cat. If you have a cat, she kind of will focus on you for a little bit. So, you know, please bring your cat onto floss tube so my child will let me watch. But I have to catch up. So I know recently in the last couple days since I uploaded this, Anna of Anna's Books and Stitches has uploaded. Natasha of Britches Get Stitches has uploaded. She's actually uploaded 2, a whip parade. Yeah, okay, yeah, I've got 2 to watch from her. The Hoogie Stitcher has uploaded. 3 Cat Stitching has uploaded, and she actually has a restart-a-thon that she is. That sounds very interesting. I don't have all the details because I haven't watched it yet, but it sounds like it's like a restart your projects on like a better floss, better fabric, like whatever. And I'm curious. I have a few whips that I could probably restart on better fabrics or whatever, but at the same time, like, I've committed. I've done, like, X amount of stitching, and so I'm stubborn. I'd rather just finish it and know for next time. And Elizabeth Stitches has posted in the last couple days, and JB Cruz and Cam the Stitcher. Oh, and Lindsay at Cat Fur and Cross Stitching, and of course Michelle Bendy, because she posts every week. So, like, that's everyone that just off my quick, like, YouTube watch later list. And Christie's Corner Needlework. So tons of great people to, like, go and give a watch, because they all are much more consistent at uploading than me. So yeah, that's the cross stitch talk. I am going to briefly talk about some books, and that will be that for the day. Okay, so I'm just opening up my Goodreads app to keep track of what I've finished recently. Yeah. Also, feel free to follow me on Goodreads. I am, if you want to. Oh my goodness, why are you so slow, internet? I have terrible internet in my house. Okay, I'm just loading this up. Most awkward pause ever, because you can't even see that I'm anxiously trying to get my phone to load. Okay, well, I will talk. I read and finished Fourth Wing. I know that. That was a wild ride. I can see why it's popular. It's not my most absolute favorite book in the world. I have some critiques, maybe a lot of it mostly on, like, editing and writing a plot rather than actual, the storyline. I don't want to spoil. I feel like everyone's read it, but a lot of people are still waiting for the holes and things like that at the library. Oh, I got cat hair at my nose. Okay. So yeah, that was a wild ride. I love me a good dragon story. I love a good dragon bond. The formative years with Anne McCaffrey, so got that. Yeah, I think that'd make a really fun movie or something. I'm going to kind of wait to see what the plot for the second book, just because, first books, I find like it's the second book that kind of makes or breaks the series, because the first book has so much exposition, character, plot, bam, 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 and then the second book is kind of like, okay, let's make something with all the ingredients we threw, and that is where the series will shine or fall. And so I actually already have a hold on it at the library, and it comes out in November, so I will be right there with everybody and seeing what happens. It's a fun read. Okay, there we go. Last night I finished a book called Cackle. Ooh, thanks for hitting that, sweetheart. Sorry, my daughter, of course, it loads and then she smacks it. So I finished reading Cackle by Rachel Harrison. Mostly I grabbed it because it had a really fantastic cover art. And it's about this woman. She has a relationship breakdown. She moves to a small town and becomes BFFs with the local witch. It was a fun read. I didn't have anything overly negative to say about it or overly positive. It was just, like, it was a good vacation read, And if you know, I don't know. I'm above lukewarm on it, I guess. Like, that's why I'm mentioning it. Like, I thought it was fairly good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed, like, that little self-fulfillment fantasy. Like, of course you want to come out of a bad breakup and be like, yeah, I am the bad. So that was fun. I finally finished Crying in H Mart. That was a memoir. It was very difficult at some points. It started off humorous, and of course it's her mom dying of cancer and, like, losing her mom, losing that connection to her culture and how she reclaimed it. It was very funny, but also very sad, and I can see why it was really popular. Like I said, I just kind of got bogged down, where it got depressing, and so it took me a little bit to power through that. I finished reading Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. I love Catherine Arden. She has a Bear and the Nightingale series. It's an adult fiction I really like. This is like her middle grade sort of thing, but it's super spooky for middle grade stuff. Like, so I read young adult, I read like junior, like I read children's books, and like I keep track of that because I'm curating stuff for my own children when they grow up, and also I'd like to have recommendations for my nieces and other people in my life. So, and wow, Small Spaces was creepy. Like, they're on a field trip, and there's scarecrows and missing kids, and curses / promises. If you have, it was spooky for me. Like, and so it kind of reminds me of Coraline, if that kind of makes sense, and like the spookiness factor. And like I love giving kids spooky things to deal with. They are tougher than we think. So I enjoyed that one. As I read a nonfiction book called Femina by Janina Ramirez, and I really liked that one. It was just kind of a slice of life, not slice of life, a slice of history through a feminist or feminine perspective, right? So, like, you know, because it's hard, because you always get, like, you know, female rulers, or, like, you know, these strong female historical figures in relationship to the male counterparts, right? Like, you have Eleanor of Aquitaine through her two husbands, and, like, you know, that, and her sons, especially her sons. And, you know, or you have, you know, Queen Elizabeth, who is a strong female, but you always get related to through the trauma of her father and the fact that she wasn't married. You know, like, that's what I find. Like, you find all these, like, historical figures, but it's always filtered through, like, their relationships to men. So I thought it was really interesting, because it tried hard to not filter through men, except where necessary. And so it touched upon, like, some figures, and I was not as familiar with, so I enjoyed that one. So if you have, like, any interest in history like that, I thought it was a good one. And I read some romances I don't really recommend, so that is what I'm at. That is what I'm at right now. Okay, and with that, we're going to end the floss tube as we started with my kitty cat. Hey, buddy, come say hi. He loves to snuggle with the baby, so he's trying to snuggle with the baby who's kicking me. Yeah, so everybody, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in hopefully 2 to 3 weeks. I'll try to be better about that. Okay. Bye.